Okay. Um, okay, so to begin, Ted, tell me how you got to know Dallas and how this story got started.
Yeah, I got to know Dallas through my church, man. He was a guy who came to us through the Lansing City Rescue Mission, which is a drug rehab facility in Lansing. And their director is a great guy. Sends a lot of their clients to our church. And Dallas was a huge, kind of intimidating-looking guy, like 300 pounds, tattoos all over, a big Jim the Anvil Neidhart goatee. And people thought that we would be a good match for discipleship. And that's sort of how it started. We tried to do kind of a typical discipleship thing, which is, talk about your feelings over a latte, and that really didn't work. So we had to get creative and do something different.
And are you guys still in touch today? Like, what's your relationship like with him now after writing this book?
Yeah, we are still in touch, although we're not probably in as close of touch as we were during the book and during the car project. Which just kind of proves our theory in the book, which is that you need a reason to get together. And for us, the reason was the car, it was the book, and kind of our lives intertwining over those two things. But Dallas is doing great now, still involved in the church, still clean. He's actually working at the rescue mission himself, so he's working for the facility that he went to get clean, and is just doing real well. I'm proud of him.
So I don't know if you think of yourself as trying to offer a different, model of discipleship, but we work in South Denver here at Patheos, and I live just north of Colorado Springs, and there's a lot of evangelicals in this region,
right.
And one of the one of the jokes people often make about this area is that you can't sit down at a coffee shop or like a Panera without seeing two people reading John Eldridge or even Jonathan
Right.
Edwards and having some sort of spiritual conversation. And
Yeah.
so you indicated in your first answer that you were kind of resisting that in your relationship with Dallas, or had realized at least that's not going to work for you guys. So are you sort of proposing a different model for discipleship, sort of a project-based relationships for that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I guess indirectly, man. I mean, I think really, for me, the motivation is always just to write a great book. You know what I mean? The motivation is always just to write a good story, to do it well, to do it in a compelling way. And if it offers somebody something new, then I guess that's kind of a bonus. And for us, man, that whole kind of latte, talk about your feelings model of discipleship, it wasn't going to fly for the two of us. It just wasn't. It's not who we are. We don't live in sort of one of the evangelical New Jerusalems like Colorado Springs. So, our town, our demographic is just different. And for us, I think we needed the tangibility of a project. We needed a reason to get together beyond just the kind of latte scene. But actually, I have to add, man, I'm a huge coffee shop guy myself, so that probably would fly for me, but not for the two of us.
Well, I'm not sure that it works in this area either. I think it's sort of a cultural habit, that people have fallen into, and so I think there is something important about this idea of choosing to do something together and like forming a relationship through a kind of a shared activity, which is what you and Dallas did. Why fixing a car though? How did you guys stumble into that?
Well, dude, I'd always had this thing for old British convertibles, man. I just liked the way they looked. I thought they looked pretty fresh, although I have absolutely zero car acumen myself. I mean, I'm the kind of guy who gets intimidated going to get the oil changed and says yes to the new air filter and all that stuff, even when, I don't need it, just because I'm such a Nancy in that environment. So Dallas, being the kind of car fixing savant that he was, that was an interest that he had. He knew that I was into the old cars, just the look and feel of them. So we decided to take it on together. He would provide all the input on fixing the car, and I would kind of provide the discipleship or life lessons kind of input for him. And it just worked really well, as we were, kind of hunkered in over the car, up to our elbows in grease and old parts and, all the crises that come with an old car. We got to talk a lot about life, and that worked well, I think.
So what's the difference between discipleship and just being in a relationship or a friendship with someone?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. I mean, for me, probably to my detriment, there really is no difference. I think for me, I just want to be friends with someone. And this is all stuff that I would have done, in real life, so to speak. So, you know, for me, it didn't feel all that forced. It didn't feel like, hey, I'm discipling this kid. And I say to my detriment, because I think if I had it to do all over again, I would have been maybe more intentional about the stuff that we read. I would have been more intentional about, you know, asking him specific questions each time we got together. And I think I was a little bit too maybe freewheeling with it, if you will. But essentially, I think there shouldn't be a huge difference. You know, I think, you know, for me, the best discipling relationships, both as a discipler and as a disciplee, have come when I've just been friends with a person. You know, it's kind of been organic, which is a word that's way overused in our evangelical subculture. But you can edit that out if you want.
Okay. So how have you changed, or how did you change over the course of repairing this car? And then also answer the same for Dallas. How do you think he has changed by this experience?
Well, I mean, for one thing, I got over my fear of cars, which was great. So I kind of gained a new skill through it. I gained a new friendship in Dallas, which was great. But really spiritually, I think I was just confronted with a lot of my own sin issues. You know, when you're discipling someone, and I think when you're doing it in such a way where you give so much of your life to a person, you discover what your own issues are. And, you know, for me, just the selfishness with my time, the sort of figuring out how to balance what I was doing with Dallas with my responsibilities to my family, you know, and even just some spiritual weakness. You know, those were all things that I think the Lord put in front of me during the year that I was with Dallas, and I'm really thankful for that.
And what about him?
You know, I think for Dallas, he just really learned how to be in community. Man, there I am throwing out like more Christian cliches. You can get rid of that word too. I hate it, actually. I hate the word community. But I mean, I think for Dallas, just learning kind of how to be in a normal family, and, you know, just eating dinner with us and hanging out with my kids, and, you know, watching my wife and I in a you know, somewhat normal marriage relationship. And, you know, I think for him, just kind of watching all that unfold and being a part of it was really eye-opening. And then for him, the challenge of being in an institution that wasn't jail, you know what I mean? So learning to be a part of a church, learning to be a part of this Bible college that he went to, you know, during the year that we were together. I think all that was really formative for him.
I mean, I wonder if part of what you guys discovered, maybe accidentally, is that in the sort of standard evangelical coffee shop model we were describing a moment ago, the person is the project, or the relationship is the project.
Yeah.
And instead, you guys both had sort of an external project and working on this car together, and maybe that allowed your relationship with him to happen in a sort of more natural way, and less forced and programmed, and more like what a relationship actually ought to be. What do you think?
You know, I think it removed a lot of the pressure. You know, there wasn't this sense that, you know, we were sitting down and talking, and I was supposed to fix Dallas or fix his problems. I mean, I think, you know, literally the car was the thing to be fixed. So as we were fixing the car, we got to build our relationship kind of around that. And I think that worked really well. And one of the things that we try to emphasize or get across at our church is just the idea that we're all, I'm